Hi, Jenny here, and I wasn't going to talk about Wuthering Heights, the film adaptation that came out recently, but then I saw a screenshot of a tweet on Instagram, which read, Wuthering Heights is so good when you don't have an English major in your ear telling you it's nothing like the book. So of course I had to say something. I wanted to share the reasons why I will not be watching this new adaptation of Wuthering Heights. I did mention last autumn, after seeing the first trailer, that I am intrigued because it seemed like it might be an adapted version where Margot Robbie wasn't playing Catherine, but rather a woman who was completely enamored with the book Wuthering Heights and tried to reenact it in her own life, based on the first trailer that we saw. But that ended up not happening at all. And here are the reasons why I will not be watching Wuthering Heights, the new adaptation. Number one, the casting of Jacob Elordi. The more I learn about everything that the director, Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi, what they have all said about his casting, the more annoyed I get. In Wuthering Heights, Heathcliff is an orphan who is taken in by Mr. Earnshaw to live with his family at Wuthering Heights. Heathcliff is in the book described as dark-skinned. It is clearly showed and has been widely analyzed that Heathcliff is a character of color. Catherine is the daughter of Earnshaw family, and Heathcliff and Catherine grow attached to each other. But because of Heathcliff's background, Catherine decides not to marry him, but rather Edgar Linton, who is from a wealthy background. And this causes Heathcliff, who, by the way, has been treated horribly because of his race and background, this causes him to seek for revenge for that relationship. The first half of the book ends with Catherine dying at childbirth when she is 19. The second half of the book follows the second generation of these families, Heathcliff and Isabella Linton, who is Edgar Linton's sister, their son, Catherine Linton, Catherine and Edgar's daughter, and then Harriton, the son of Catherine's brother. It is stated very clearly in the book that Heathcliff is not white. But Emerald Fennell justified her casting of Jacob Elordi with, "This is how I imagined Heathcliff when I first read Wuthering Heights." It's still unclear to me if she has reread Wuthering Heights. In literary analysis, there is of course subjective experience that the reader or whatever media consuming is at hand, what they experience, of course, but there are always objective conditions which are presented in the book that will not go away even if the reader experiences the book in a different way. And in this context, the objective condition is that Heathcliff is not white. We don't know his specific ethnicity, as characters in the book are trying to figure it out, and they call him slurs, trying to figure out his background, clearly indicating that he is a person of color. So when you cast a white man to play a person of color, you erase that whole aspect of Wuthering Heights, which is so important to the story, which explains so much of Heathcliff's character. So Emerald Fennell tried to justify it with, "This was just how I imagined it when I was reading it for the first time as a teenager." Okay, did you miss the sentences where he was described as dark-skinned? Margot Robbie said that, Jacob Elordi, he is amazing as Heathcliff. You don't have to worry about it at all. Completely ignoring the fact that the question was about a white actor playing a character of color. Jacob Elordi said that he's just there to serve his director and the director's vision. So that's one, and I feel like that should be enough to not watch this adaptation. Margot Robbie also tried to say that, there have been so many great actors who have played Heathcliff, and everyone that she mentioned were white. Kind of indicating that, well, he's been white before, so it should be fine now. But he has been played by actors of color before as well. Okay, the second reason for me is the further changes that they made into the adaptation. I understand when you are adapting a classical text and you want to take it to modern day, you want to change some things. One major thing was that they aged Catherine a lot. She's about 19 in the book, like when she dies. In this adaptation, I think Catherine is like in her 30s, 20s. In a way, I understand that at least they're not trying to say that, yeah, Margot Robbie is 19 years old when she's not. They also didn't include the second half of the book, which includes the following generation after Catherine's death. But that's not just exclusive to this adaptation. But I think it just takes away a lot from the story when you end it halfway through the book. Third reason is I don't know if people involved with this production were that aware of the original text. When Margot Robbie read this script, she had not read Wuthering Heights. She read the script first, fell in love with it, but I have not read anywhere that she has since read Wuthering Heights. Emerald Fennell emphasized on the fact that this adaptation is about how she felt when she first read the book when she was a teenager. But again, I couldn't find anywhere her saying that she reread the book to prepare for this adaptation. Maybe she did, but I could not find that anywhere. So to me, that does disservice to the original text. It shows that the adaptation script came way before than the original text. Additionally, the test audiences for this movie, they either had heard of Wuthering Heights but had not read it, or they did not even know about Wuthering Heights at all, and they absolutely loved this movie. At least some of them, maybe some of the test audiences did know about the book, but to me, again, that shows some kind of disrespect towards the original text at hand. You might think, well, there are quotation marks around the title, Wuthering Heights. Emerald Fennell has talked about, like, this is just my adaptation. I just don't think that the quotation marks are enough here to justify the major changes to the original story. AKA, for example, Jacob Elordi being white. It felt more like a very different story from Wuthering Heights, but Emerald Fennell wanted to attach the Wuthering Heights name to it because it's such an iconic, monumental, classical piece of literature. So those are the reasons why I will not be watching Wuthering Heights. I also want to discuss the fact that obviously this adaptation has caused a lot of discourse online. I literally read that first tweet regarding it. And I think there has been a divide into the type of book social media communities where critical analysis and actual deep discussions of why this adaptation shouldn't exist and doesn't work. That's one part. And then there's the other part that's like, well, who cares? And I've seen a lot of great discussion. I've shared some, and I've seen some incredible shorts and reels discussing deeply why it's problematic to have a whitewashed version of the story. I would especially recommend short form content from This Story Ain't Over, who actually went to see the movie and then dissected why this adaptation didn't work. And then also user The Brightbrarian on Instagram also made a very clear video on the fact that Heathcliff is not white. And this adaptation, dismissing it, is very problematic. But then I also saw that Jack Edwards, who claims to be the internet librarian, who seemingly is well-read and well-educated, also made some content about Wuthering Heights. He published 2 podcast episodes, one of which he interviews Margot Robbie, Jacob Elordi, and Alison Oliver, and then another one with Emerald Fennell. And I thought, surely someone who has made their career out of literary analysis, surely they will provide very interesting questions and challenges and insight to these people that he's interviewing. Nope. In the first interview, it was very much like a typical movie cast interview, he did ask about like what it was like to play these characters, but then also like gave them book recommendations and asked them for their book recommendations. I felt like Wuthering Heights was kind of not the main topic there, but rather just books overall. And then in the Emerald Fennell interview, before he started the interview, he said that, well, we knew that it was going to be erotic fan fiction. Why are we disappointed in the adaptation? That was me paraphrasing, by the way. And I was quite stunned. I had to pause there because I wasn't expecting erotic fan fiction when I saw the first trailer, My Mom Is Calling. I think it's okay to have expectations for the movies that you watch, the books that you read, the TV series you watch, the music you listen to. And when the first trailer came out, there were so many theories that were actually trying to engage with the material. They were trying to see that maybe there's something more to the story. So just saying, well, we knew it was going to be erotic fan fiction, it dismisses literary analysis completely. And also in his summary, when he provided the summary of the book, he never mentioned Heathcliff not being white, just that he was like a socially outcast. And when interviewing Emerald Fennell, he didn't really challenge her at all. He did ask about like what were her non-negotiables that had to be in the adaptation from the book, but that's it really. I don't know, the interviews felt very, very safe and very sanitized. I thought those conversations would have been deeper, but they were about 15-minute conversations. Maybe you don't have time, you know, in busy movie promotion schedule to do that. But I think with a couple of questions, he could have like even asked like, okay, how did you feel after reading the book and then doing this adaptation? Even that could have provided even some insight. But again, we don't even know if the people in the production read the book. Alright, that was a very, very ranty video. If you decide to go watch Wuthering Heights, I do hope you keep it in your mind to be critical and kind of realize where it differs from the original text. I do hope that we don't fall more into the literacy crisis that we are at hand. I really hope that, like referring back to the tweet I read, I really hope that people demand more from the art that they consume. No, not every movie or book has to be like highly intellectual classical literature. No, but when you are adapting a classic novel with major themes of classism, racism, you should be a bit critical of an adaptation of that film. Is that so radical? If you want to see more videos about books and culture overall, subscribe to my channel. I also post book reviews on bookstagram at jenskosmos. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. Bye!